Regardless of your thoughts about CM Punk, one thing has become evident about his time in AEW, and that is that he generates a buzz that no one else on the roster can match. As talented and world-renowned as some of the AEW roster is, there's very few who have the same level of household name factor as CM Punk. I think that is a larger issue in professional wrestling as a whole, that wrestlers aren't as well known as they are, and I believe wrestling companies should target this more when it comes to exposure and branding, but that's a conversation for another day. Regardless of what potential other wrestlers may have in AEW, there's one man who's known outside of the wrestling world, and that man is CM Punk. You could argue that in professional wrestling as a whole, Punk joins Brock Lesnar as the only active wrestlers who could be considered as well known outside of the wrestling bubble. Again, regardless of your personal feelings towards him, this kind of value cannot be understated, and the decision to bring him back to working capacity is, in my opinion, one of the easiest decisions Tony Khan has had to make regarding this CM Punk debacle. I'm not entirely sure how much of a factor Punk was in the decision to introducing a second live 2-hour show, but if this was the only way to have CM Punk back on AEW television, then I agree with the decision. Again, for me, it's pretty simple. As a business, having Punk on your show is a must if you have him signed up to a contract. You need to get your money's worth, and Punk showed in his first stint that he attracts eyeballs. I don't think it's controversial to say that the company would look entirely different had the drama between he and the Elite not happened. From a more harmonious locker room in general, to a stronger viewership base and more united fan base, to a properly fleshed out title run with multiple storylines and the eventual CM Punk versus MJF feud coming to a close that would have elevated MJF to an even higher level than he is right now. That being said, you cannot change the past, so let's look to the future. The difficult decisions now begin with question marks over how to book him and what his role will be in the company moving forward. If there's one thing that's going to define this next run for CM Punk, it comes down to one of the most fundamentally basic decisions when it comes to booking, and that is whether he is going to be a face or a heel. The decision seems pretty simple. Punk should be a heel. I'm not actually sure that there's anyone arguing that he should be a face, but if there is, I would love to hear their argument, because for as much as I've thought about this, and believe me, I have a lot, there's no way I can justify booking Punk as a straight up babyface and having it make any sense. Professional wrestling has moved to a stage where kayfabe and reality have evolved and partially have blended into one. To completely ignore what we all know happened in reality, and to completely ignore what a heavy majority of the fan base feels towards CM Punk would be character assassination. Punk coming out as a face would be the equivalent to John Cena, Roman Reigns, and Cody Rhodes' attempts at babyface runs. And unlike those previous three, I'm just not sure CM Punk would allow himself to be in that situation. Punk doesn't strike me as a man who really cares if he plays face or heel. He's done both very well in the past, and he does seem switched on when it comes to wrestling psychology, so I doubt he would be the one suggesting a face run. I do get a bit concerned when I think about Tony Khan though. He's shown in the last 12 months that if he's got an idea that he really likes, he'll stick to his guns as much as he can, and he'll sell it to himself and to the audience as best as he can. I do worry that he just wants to pick up with CM Punk where he left him, which was a babyface champion, and I just don't see a world where this is a good thing. Regardless of face or heel, Punk is always going to get a mixed reaction, more so now than ever before. Punk has some of the most loyal fans in wrestling. That is absolutely undeniable. Just look at how he was never given up on, even after 7 years away from the sport. It seemed like every year there were theories and rumors and clamoring of his return, and it was something people were always wishing and hoping for. On the other hand, there were always people who disliked Punk, and once again, now more than ever, there will be people who will continue to dislike Punk no matter what you do with him. That being said, I think there's a way where you can have Punk as a heel, but not in the most traditional sense. I don't think he should cheat or be scared to fight. Put it this way, I don't think we need another MJF. I definitely believe this is a case of bringing real life into kayfabe, something that AEW has done very well in the past. Punk should definitely play into the backstage drama as much as possible. I'm sure there will be an element of leaving that behind and not discussing it as much as they can. I'm not saying that the specific incident or the details regarding it should be brought up, but there is now a narrative and a perception of CM Punk that he won't be able to shake, and that is what he should lean into, specifically the arrogance and entitlement. I'm not saying that's how Punk really is. I don't know the guy. I don't actually know the story, but that is the public perception. and it would be silly to ignore it and act as if history didn't happen. There needs to be continuity with this character. It has to make sense. He cannot come out and act as if nothing happened. Here's how I would do it personally, and I'm not a booker by any means, but this seems like the simplest path for me. Punk is coming out in Chicago. He's going to get more cheers than boos. You don't win any prizes for guessing that. I would have him cut a promo and explain how he felt about his first stint. He says how he was really happy to be back in wrestling. He wanted to wrestle the young guys and give something back to the industry, while just having fun in a company that would look after him physically and mentally. That part I actually don't think would be a lie. I do think that's how Punk felt originally. During his promo, Punk says that he never really felt that he would be challenging for titles anytime soon, if ever at all. He thought his career at the top of the mountain was done and dusted. But when he racked up enough wins and realized he was still good enough, he got the hunger back, the fight back, the fire back, and it consumed him. He realized he still could be at the peak of the mountain, and he felt that the rest of the locker room should have respected and appreciated him more. Again, this is kayfabe, but that's probably how he felt. I'd have him basically go delusional and drunk off of his own power and abilities. That's the character that makes the most sense to me. I don't think he needs to be dastardly or evil. I don't think he needs to get cheap heat by talking shit about the city he's in. I don't think he needs any of that. Just let him be CM Punk and let him get the reactions he gets. I actually think Punk is a smart enough guy to go with the flow and adjust depending on the crowd reaction he's getting. And that's the main thing. This is going to be a balancing act, and it's a high risk, high reward. One thing that's for sure is CM Punk is going to make AEW Collision must-watch TV. I don't really know what the plan for AEW Collision is and who the major wrestlers will be at the top of that card, so I don't know who he's going to feud. I know Jericho's been discussed, I know Samoa Joe has been teased. I also don't know what the plan is for titles around both shows. I can only hope that they don't introduce a second world title, and I can only hope that there isn't a hard brand split. You could sell me on the hard brand split, but you could absolutely not sell me on a second world title or second top title. That just cannot happen. I just don't think it works in modern professional wrestling. The TNT title can mainly remain on one show and the international title on the other, with the world title floating between. You could do the same with the women's title, the world titles on one, the TBS titles on the other. Also, take the international title off of Orange Cassidy. That's just a side bit. That has nothing to do with this. With an arguably poorly managed 12 months, and I would be the one arguing that, Tony Khan should be desperate to hit a home run right now, and if he can book CM Punk correctly and AEW Collision perfectly, he won't just be hitting a home run, he'll be hitting a grand slam to win the World Series. That's how big this is. I think Collision is actually coming at a great time for AEW. There are so many talented wrestlers who are not featured enough or at all. My hope is that some of the world-class talent that AEW is underutilizing or that they have completely forgotten about get the opportunity to reaffirm that they are valuable pieces of the roster and the company. I'm talking about Miro. All jokes aside, there is more than just him. Collision should mean we see more of that talent, so it can only make the AEW experience better if booked correctly. I'm someone who just watches Dynamite, and 2 hours of AEW television is usually enough for me, so I don't know how I'll personally go about my consumption of Collision. TK will have to do his best to make it an enjoyable experience. The first week will need to get people hook, line, and sinker, but realistically, Collision needs to convince me every single week to watch the next episode. The first episode, it's pretty self-explanatory, that's must watch, but there needs to be more than just CM Punk. If the booking sucks, I will mentally check out very quickly, and I don't think I'm alone in feeling like this. It'll be very interesting to see what kind of numbers Collision does. I'm pretty sure the premiere episode will be massive, as was Rampage when CM Punk debuted. That's just the level of draw he is, so there's no surprise there, but the true test will be in a month or two from now. If I was Tony Khan, I would want Collision to be doing 75% of Dynamite's numbers as a minimum in 1 or 2 months' time still. I wouldn't want it dropping below that at any stage. That would be success to me personally. And I want Collision to be successful. I want Punk's return to be clean. I want what's best for AEW. I have to admit that this is the most intrigued I've been all year to watch AEW television. I will absolutely be tuning in to AEW Collision, and the main reason is CM Punk. Without him, I'm not even sure this new show would take off the ground, to be honest. And with Collision comes many things that are actually very exciting for AEW. They're bringing out a video game, they're doing All In London, Forbidden Door is just around the corner as well. AEW is shaping up to have potentially a very strong summer and a rejuvenating summer. This is something they have needed desperately, and if they book it correctly, and again, it's a big if, but if they can book this correctly, they could set themselves up for some real long-term success here. And you can see I'm excited. You can see the smile on my face because I'm just thinking about it. AEW, the summer of AEW, it could be what brings us back to the Holy Grail. The roster is absolutely stacked. There's no reason why AEW can't be by far the best wrestling product in the world. And right now, it isn't. I guess let me know what you guys think in terms of CM Punk's return and AEW Collision as a whole. What are you expecting from both? What are you expecting from Punk? What are you expecting from Collision? I'd like to see what you guys think because this could go any direction. And I want to know what you guys think will happen and what you think should happen. So get going in the comments below. I'll see you all there. Thanks for watching, guys. Much appreciated. Nice to be back in the swing of things. So look out for a video very soon because it actually looks like there's things in AEW that are worth talking about. Let's just hope they don't fall flat on their face as most things have in the last 6 to 12 months. Fingers crossed. I'll see you guys very soon.